Hey everyone, excited to kick off the demos for today, and we are Cosmic Cowboys slash Pinata. So if you're not familiar with Pinata, it's a IPFS pinning service, and so Paige and myself work at Pinata. And Cosmic Cowboys was actually kind of a side hackathon project that started at ETH Online last year. And the goal was to try to create AI NPCs that make on-chain transactions inside of a blockchain game. And the goal was to probably try to solve the cold start problem. Typically, if you join into a massive online world that has lots of players, if there are no players, it is really boring. And so the idea is, what if we can make NPCs fill that void and actually be alive and create interactions and transactions, and the game is happening even if you're not actually there. And so that was the goal of Cosmic Cowboys.
All right, so I'm gonna start off by introducing our team. So we have Justin, Steve, and myself serving as developers on the project, and then we also have our amazing designer Marge sitting over there. So yeah, there's 4 of us working on this project. Next, I'll kind of go into the contract overview and how we're using different contracts within the game itself. So we have these NPCs, which are actually NFTs. They are modified ERC 721s. And each NPC has their own set of metadata, which represents kind of like their backstory, characteristics, and all these things that are related to the NPC itself. And we're storing these on IPFS and using these as embeddings for our AI. And each NPC has a token-bound account. Inside this token-bound account, we're storing in-game items, which are represented such as like supplies and credits. And these are actually like 1155 and ERC 20s. Yeah, so that's an overview of our contracts.
Yeah, so now we'll go ahead and get into our demo of the game. So let me just kind of full screen this. There we go. And so this is what the game looks like. And just to give you a quick overview of what's happening to the game or how it works, is basically there's these miners stranded on the moon of Jupiter, Ganymede, and your goal is to basically rescue them from the moon. And you do that by creating a planet jumper. It's kind of like someone is going to jump down to the moon and pull them back out. And so you can create a jumper several ways. You can interact with these miners and get achievements, and then you can create a jumper through achievements. Or you can go ahead and just pay for it using Wallet or ETH. And what's really cool is that these jumpers are basically AI images. You kind of like get to customize what that avatar looks like. And so I think, there we go. So that's one of them right there. Oh, go there. So that's one of our planet jumpers here. And so what's really interesting is once you actually rescue one of these miners and complete all the achievements that the jumper needs to rescue the miner, it actually will transfer that miner to your wallet with all the TBA and all of its items. And so in a lot of ways, it's kind of like a gamified mint. Instead of being on the allow list or being fast enough to mint an NFT, it's like, what if you have to play a game, and how well you play the game and make your moves is how you get the NFT. And so that's just kind of the overview of the game, and then Paige will kind of walk us through different aspects of it.
Yeah, we'll kind of get into a little bit more of an involved demo. So if we go ahead and engage, this is one of our miners. So this is an NPC. They have the token-bound account, and then they also have that metadata stored on IPFS with their full backstory. So we can kind of start off by just asking it like, hey, where are you located? And it should have knowledge of its on-chain state. So it says, yeah, I'm at the supply depot. It seems to be lying.
Oh, yeah, probably. Might be a little out of date.
Yeah, there could be a little bit of latency there. This is our dev environment. So you can chat with this NPC and get information about the game itself or the actual miner. Another thing that you can do is you can make these NPCs take actions. So there's different actions that you can do, and these are all listed within our smart contract. So Steve went ahead and took an action, which was to go home. All right, and so you can see this isn't actually an on-chain transaction, and now it's representing its new on-chain state. And this also counts as an achievement, and those achievements are 1155 NFTs themselves. So another thing that we have going on with these NPCs is we do have a cron job. So every 3 minutes, these NPCs are making decisions based on their either the on-chain state as well as their metadata. And we're using AI agents to allow for them to kind of decide what they want to do.
Yeah, and I think the really unique part that we really enjoyed about this is that these people, these miners that are having to make these decisions and forcing them to make decisions using OpenAI's function calls, giving them that embedding as a context of what they can and can't do based on like their stats and all these other things. Having that stored on IPFS was an interesting use case for us of how we could have open AI data and influence. But of course, over the game, we definitely encountered a lot of challenges, and it's really cool to be here today and see a lot of these solutions just appear. So I think Ritual was probably one of the most impressive ones, and definitely one of the most necessary ones. One of the biggest problems we had with Cosmic Cowboys is that central AI component. It's all OpenAI. That was the easiest way to do it at the time. And because of that, if OpenAI went down, the entire game flopped. These are no longer autonomous, and they're not really truly autonomous. And so having something like Ritual to help power that would be really huge and something I think we're going to look into. And I think some of the other things that make it hard for gaming too is trying to tune these AI models to work the way you want them to. OpenAI and ChatGPT, they're very much like, I'm an assistant, and like you don't want your game character saying, I'm an assistant. And so trying to yank that out of your AI NPCs is really, really hard to do, and we got to a pretty good place, but I think it's still something that could use more improvement and probably custom models to achieve that. Something else that I think Ritual also could probably solve for us that was interesting is basically private key autonomy. The whole way we are running this whole thing and actually being able to have, these AI agents create actions and make on-chain actions is that they're all controlled by just one private key. And that is one of the downsides too of DBA sometimes is with token-bound accounts. If you're initiating a transaction through that token-bound account and engaging in something, it's going to still show as the owner wallet, the top-level wallet as the signer. And so I think if we had it our way, what would be really cool is if you have Ritual powering that private key as well. So having an entire smart contract where you could truly make something autonomous. And I think the last thing that we probably would cover too, the problems that we encountered, is just on-chain costs. We did deploy this on base mainnet and minted out, so everything is complete now. The game is basically, first season's finished, everyone was rescued. And even on base, having that many transactions happening, especially with 6551 baked into it, you're doing a bunch of transactions in just one function call. And so you're probably going to need like an L3 or something like that to make it, effective. And there's always challenges with L3s too, because that makes it even harder for everyday people to really engage with it. But yeah, that's Cosmic Cowboys. We really enjoyed it. We'll see if this is something we're going to continue working with and continue innovating on. Our initial vision was to try to turn this into maybe an NPC engine to make it easier for game devs to actually just deploy AI NPCs into their own game. So I'm not sure if anybody has any questions. We're trying to make this pretty quick for you.
We also have hats over there.
We have lots of hats and stickers. So if you just want a free hat that looks like this, go over to the table there. Please grab one. We're trying to get rid of them. So please take our hats. Any questions? Anybody have any questions? Yes. Yeah, so the question is, if you considered something like gelato or a roll-up, right, to automate some transactions. I think for sure. I think if we had more time and we're able to put that into the chain area, that would be easy to do. One of the hardest things to do with something like this too is that we're having to depend on a lot of libraries to handle some of the lower level complexities of interacting with the smart contract and getting that data. And so, for instance, we had other chains like, I know Scale was one of them. I think we also, Stark was another one, Starkware. And one of the hardest parts is if you don't have SDKs that are empowering that, then you have to completely rewrite 20 separate functions and stuff like that. So, but definitely something, we could absolutely look into. Yeah. Yeah, so the question was, how do you prevent something like a transaction happening from an AI hallucination? So we basically have two very distinct ways of engaging or causing those on-chain transactions to happen. And it's either only through that cron job or only when a user clicks on the button. And so it's a pretty centralized way to actually control it. I think going into the realm of truly autonomous NPCs with something like Ritual, that would be something interesting to explore. So don't know if I have a good answer for that, but good question. Yeah, I think if we do engage into season 2, our goal would probably be to launch in an L3 to reduce the cost and make it actually something that will be easy to reproduce for other people. Reproducing this on base is definitely a challenge, and as much as we love base, it's tricky. So if we do a season 2, we'll probably try to do it on an L3. I would love for us to, if we have the time, to integrate something like Ritual and try to take further steps to take OpenAI out of the equation completely. Yeah. That would be the ultimate goal, and trying to make truly autonomous NPCs. And pretty much all of these characters too, we did hand-done mid-journey images in the sense of we prompted different character traits and ethnicities, trying to create a diverse set of characters. And if we do a season 2, we'll probably do something similar. I think that's the fun part about it. Yeah, so it was just kind of a personal decision. So if our original idea was if a miner was rescued, we basically redeploy them into the game, which is pretty easy to do. But we wanted there to be some kind of motivation for the actual gameplay. That was one of the things that we discovered too when building this, is that we are not game developers. Even though we made a blockchain game, we're much more tuned to creating tools for developers. And so we were like, how do we make this actually something that people want to actually keep playing or try to do? And so even though there is a limited run of each game, there is actually the motivation of I need to hurry and try to rescue these miners before everyone else does, because once season 1's done, it's done. Probably we would have to get some good help from game mechanics to figure out a better gameplay to keep it going. Yeah. Cool. I think that's it. Thanks, y'all. Really appreciate it.
Future Primitive